The university is surrounded by lush greenery, which makes the environment very pleasant.
Participating in various student organizations has given me a wide variety of leadership skills.
The teaching methods, along with the learning culture, has made me well-equipped to top the board exam.
We can experience a variety of extracurricular activities throughout the semester.
English is used as the medium of instruction in most of our classes to help prepare students for work, both here and abroad.
As faculty of FEU, we engage in ongoing research, encourage scholarly discussions, and contribute in academic publications.
I was able to get a job right after graduation, thanks to FEU's collaborations and industry partners.
The University Student Exchange Program gave me the opportunity to study in another country, to broaden my horizon, and to experience new cultures.
Internet connectivity is available in every part of the university, from the classrooms to the parks, canteens, and even the hallway.
The university is well equipped with specialized learning spaces such as nursing rooms, a mock hotel, and even a TV studio. This gives you a close to real-life experience.
I really believe that FEU can bring out the best in all of us.
Far Eastern University believes that the key to progress is in continuing education. We've invested in our faculty, facilities, and curriculum to ensure that our students have the best chance to succeed in their careers.
In FEU, we never stop learning. We believe that professional development and increased opportunities can only be gained through mastery of skills and subject matter. Here in FEU, we help you reach your full potential.
Students in FEU have access to a robust community and state-of-the-art facilities to help students in their learning journeys. Teachers are not only lecturers, but they're also mentors, and they ensure that students are guided throughout the learning process.
Be part of the community, because this is where you get to meet the expert from the industry. We bring industry closer to the academe, and this is what you get, the experience in a classroom, listening to the expert from the industry.
Students in FEU are technologically equipped. We have access to the MS Office Suite, Canvas, and Power Apps, which can be used to communicate with our classmates, professors, and even book school services.
In FEU, students are responsible for their learning.
Students are given the freedom and flexibility to take up to few units per semester in consideration for their careers or other commitments.
If you want to accelerate your career in the corporate world, please come and join us. See you.
Welcome to FEU. For you, we are creating spaces.
All of those are gingers, and not known by many, the country has 18 genera and 140 species of gingers, making the Philippines as one of the centers of ginger diversity. After our extensive fieldwork from 2018 to 2019, a total of 41 species of gingers were recorded in the province of Sorsogon.
We at the Far Eastern University Herbarium are committed to contributing scientific facts by our study of macrofungi, algae, and vascular plants like gingers. The book, A Guide to Gingers of Sorsogon, is our first attempt at sharing that knowledge to a general audience by the many beautiful images you will find in the book.
Here in FEU, we stand for future-ready learning. For continued education, not just for our students, but also for ourselves. Because by learning more about our students, we learn how to be better educators. For educational innovations. Because better, more responsive teaching techniques that put emphasis on learning instead of just passing. Help our students be better prepared for the future. For turning knowledge into wisdom, not just accumulating it, so we can fulfill the potential of every student to be a future leader, and not just an achiever. We are FEU, and we stand for a future-ready generation. We stand for future-ready learning.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, peles ng sinangana, alam ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hingiran, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulupi, di ka pasisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bagaw, may dinagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang kislat ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagbibimbing, ang bituin at araw niya kailan, pang hindi magdidilim, lupa ng araw. sinta, buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pa ay mga api, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Glory to you, Almighty, for gathering us today. Give us the fortitude to conquer life's challenges so we can excel and be upright in everything that we do. Guide us to be united in diversity, that we may continue to serve and love one another. Amen.
Good morning and welcome to the premiere episode of TamTalks. TamTalks is a live and online conversation with FEU scholars, researchers, artists, successful student leaders, also our teacher achievers, and famous successful camaradas. This is a venue where the FEU community shares its projects that bear relevance to the general public. I'm Liz Abanto. I'm your host for this premiere episode. Let us start the conversation with Director of the FEU Herbarium and Research Fellow, Dr. Sandra Yap. Good morning, Dr. Sandra.
Morning, Ma'am Liz.
Hi. Oh, now, our premiere episode is actually the launch and the public introduction of the book, A Guide to the Gingers of Sorsogon. And that is a publication of FEU Herbarium and that of the publication office. So, Dr. Sandra, let's start the conversation with what is a herbarium?
Well, a herbarium is basically a museum, but it's dedicated to plants. And if I have to be specific, they're dead plants. So, yeah, don't expect live a collection of plants.
All right. Like, because it says herbarium, are this only a collection of herbs?
No, so it includes all forms of plants. So from herbs to trees to vines and all sorts. In our herbarium, we actually also have collections of algae and fungi, which aren't within the group of vascular.
And how many do we have now at the herbarium?
Well, the FEU Herbarium is relatively young. It was only established in 2018 with the support of the FEU's University Research Center. Given that it's very young, so we haven't had much time to go out and collect, but we have at the moment about 4,000 specimens in our collection.
That's a big number, though.
Well, the largest herbarium in the world have 7 million specimens. So
we're just
relatively tiny.
And we're hit by the pandemic. Who knows? You'll have more collections.
That's also true. So yeah.
So I'm curious of Dr. Sandra, because like the book was published by your office. So could you tell me, like, why do we have to? What is the relevance of the research on gingers to your collections or to your research initiatives?
Well, the Philippines, if you're not aware, has a really high diversity of flora and fauna of plants and animals. But there's a lot of information that's still missing. There's not known about the biodiversity. And with the sort of increased threats to our natural resources, there's a sort of an incentive, or it's a priority to go and discover these species before they're gone. Like I said, we have about 10,000 actually species of plants, and the gingers is one of those groups that's not been very well studied historically. And so we're actually lucky to have a professor, a researcher in the biology department associated with the herbarium that has spent so far his relatively short career on gingers, but has made lots of discoveries about this particular group. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. Sandra. Now let's give the focus to the researcher, Rudolph Valentino Docot, or we'll call him for short, Duke.
Good morning, Ma'am Liz.
Good morning. Bakit pag-aaralan ng luya? Luya lang yun. Isa lang yun, di ba? What do we not know about ginger? Tell the public. I mean, I was surprised when I was browsing through the book, and so with the rest of the production team, they were saying, ginger ba to? Okay, tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, aside from they are some of the most famous spice and traditional medicine in the world, gingers are also source of aromatic oils. And these aromatic oils are used in, for example, in the perfume industry, okay, and other natural
Do they smell
products.
good?
Yes.
Oh, really? Okay.
Well, if you know camia,
Yes.
the Psittacum coronarium, that's a ginger.
Okay. Camia
The
is a
ones that
ginger.
is put in the Sampaguita garlands.
Really?
Yes.
That's ginger?
Yes.
Okay. I thought it was like a ginger ayun, di ba medyo maasim, gano'n, ano. All right. Tell me, so then why did you focus on Sorsogon?
There was a botanist named Adolf Elmer who explored the province of Sorsogon a century ago. So he recorded a total of 35 species of ginger, but the problem now with these gingers, they have not been seen for quite a long time. So since their discovery in 1919, so that's more than a century ago, and this species needs taxonomic revision. Well, as part of our effort in documenting and resolving Philippine gingers, I decided to propose the project in 2018 to the University Research Center and to recollect and rediscover these species of gingers that Elmer enumerated back in 1990.
So how many did you discover this time?
Well, back then it's 35, but now it's 41.
Wow. So how many did you get to discover and new ones?
We have a total of 2 new species that was published in 2019.
All right. Now, okay, but you mentioned about finding this or locating all of these at Mount Bulusan?
Not just Mount Bulusan, but in
the
some
different
areas
parts
of
of Sorsogon.
Sorsogon.
All right. I was wondering because just recently, right? We had the volcano more or less had a eruption. Would that not lessen the number of species? Would that not endanger the species at all?
Well, possible that it may lessen the population within the volcano.
Within the area.
Yes.
All right. Okay. Now, you meant, did you do this all by yourself? I mean, going to the Sorsogon area and doing your own research?
I did it with my former thesis advisees. Actually, they are here.
Oh, hi. Where are they? Good morning to the fellow researchers. Okay. Now, tell us about your journey. How long did it take you to discover all these new species and document all other species that you found?
The project was launched in 2018. So we have a total of 3 collection trips. First in June 2018. Second was in October 2018, and then the last would be on March 2019. Because different species has their own different flowering season, so we know we need to go back to document their flowers.
Dr. Sandra, let me ask you then, no? Being a professor mismo in the biology department, is this a norm to involve the students in research work and even in publication? How do you really engage them?
Well, it is a requirement in the biology coursework that they have a thesis. And we do only have limited slots that we can supervise a group of students, but the students that we do supervise, we tend to, when we're allowed to, bring them along in the field. So that was the case with Duke students then, and that's the case again. We actually also just recently got new funding from the URC, which will allow some of our thesis students to join us in trips to Batanes, Bohol, Ilocos, and probably elsewhere.
Wow, that's interesting, right? It's not just classroom learning.
Yes.
You really have to go to the
Duke
field.
students, they not only went to the field, they helped out work on the specimens in the lab, and they helped in finishing the paper. So they're co-authors of the paper that was published describing those new 2 species of gingers.
Wow, great. Now, you in your discovery, when you went to Sorsogon, could you tell us what were the new things that you found? What new species did you find?
We have 2 new species that was first was Zingiberaceae. This was named after the mistress of Bulusan. Actually, it's a famous folklore.
It's okay. I want to be clear. Sensitive. So, okay, it's
That
a
happened in
folklore.
Mount Bulusan. So we
Okay.
named it after the mistress of the protagonist in the folklore. And then the second one is Zingiberaceae. So Subverseum is in Latin is pink because the species is very unique by its pink form. And actually that is the only pink zingiber in the world.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, for those of you watching both right now here in the huddle and also in Zoom, you would have realized that the pictures there are of gingers. Did you know that those are of gingers? Because I thought when you speak of gingers, yun lang yung luya, no? The
rhizome
the rhizome. Okay, the rhizome is ano yan sa Tagalog? Yung ugat? Ano ba yan sa Tagalog?
Actually, it's a modified stem. It's actually a stem, but it's underground. So most of the people considered it as a root, but it's actually a stem.
Mm-hmm. So, like the flowers, like what we're showing right now, you said these are the new discoveries. Have these been entered already into the how do you call it? Into that almanac or what have you? Have this been introduced already, Sandra?
Well, there isn't
Recorded?
necessarily an almanac,
Mhm.
but it has been published, and so it is known to science and generally, I suppose, to the general public who's interested in these plants. For the Philippines in particular, there is a group of people who work on what's called the Close Digital Flora. It's a digital collection of images of the different species of the Philippines, and they attempt to sort of record all the Philippine species. And so every time somebody publishes a paper, they ask for, can we get a copy of the pictures? And then they upload it, and they update their checklist. Yeah,
That's
so
good.
this has been updated.
Yeah,
in that
great. Now you did mention in the past, like the botanies rather that you mentioned earlier. Most of these were just written descriptions, right? But what is different from what you did was that you had pictures. That's why we have them on the screen and what we're showing you right now on Facebook or on at Zoom. They're beautiful. Like the pink you say is rare, very rare,
Yes.
and the only one we have.
Yes.
Wow.
I mean, the only pink of their kind.
Of their kind. Can you find them outside of Sorsogon? What was there any mention?
As of now, no.
None at all.
Yes. But if we explore the nearby provinces, it's probably also distributed there.
Now, let me ask you this other question. You have found so many species. I mean, did they just grow? Were they brought here or what? How could they have
naturally occurring in a particular habitat? Yeah.
Okay. Now, tell us more about the other discoveries you have or rediscoveries.
Well, these two species that is on the screen, first is Zingiberaceae. So this is one of the species that Elmer described that have not been seen for a century.
Wow.
Yes, and it's all only can be found in Mount Bulusan. It's restricted there. And also the second species, the 𝙂𝙪𝙤𝙧𝙨. So they are both endemic in Mount Bulusan, meaning they are restricted within Mount Bulusan.
So you cannot cultivate them, you cannot pick them, not at all.
Well, what he means is when you say endemic, it means that it has a restricted geographic distribution, meaning you can only find it there, naturally occurring in that area. It doesn't, however, restrict you from actually collecting it and growing it and propagating it. You could potentially, which is one of the things we do want to promote about gingers, because there are a lot of really pretty ones, and they could potentially become, contributing to the horticultural industry. And since we have a lot of endemic species, that means that we're the only country in the world that would have these particular forms, which we think is a bonus.
Yeah. Great. Now, also when I was looking at this particular picture, I thought it was an orchid.
Yes. Well, gingers are always associated with orchids because they have this similar flower morphology. The difference between gingers and orchids are long lasting compared to gingers. So many horticulturists preferred orchids rather than gingers.
But orchids are a little bit more common now. And if you are looking at my right behind me, actually is one of the ginger one of the gingers. Could you describe it a bit more?
Yellow, only the yellow
cone-like,
one.
the cone-like.
Yeah, the cone-like. It's Zingiberaceae spectabile. It is now very famous in the flower cut industry. But the problem with this species is this is not native to our country. So meaning they are introduced.
But we have them growing in the country.
Yes,
So you
but
don't have to import
as
them.
cultivated.
So it's a beautiful ornamental plant.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's not native to the Philippines. So that's why our research will also expose our own species so that we can utilize our own, like the pink one. Yeah, it has a potential to be used as a ornamental and can be proposed for flower cut industry.
Okay, that's great. So ginger is not just for cooking, not just for kabab. Okay, all right. Now tell us other endemic species that you found in Sorsogon.
Well, on the screen, these are species that are restricted only in the province of Sorsogon. And next slide.
Okay, next slide. All right.
And these
tell us about the threatened species. Why are they threatened and endangered?
Well, they are threatened. I mean, categorically threatened species because based on existing data, they are now, the population is very limited. And then their habitat is declining, meaning some of the areas are converted into agricultural forests or residential areas. But the good thing for Mount Bulusan, it is a protected area. But the problem is many parts within the protected area are still being used for agricultural uses.
I'm just curious because, like, if farmers knew of the economic benefit from planting or growing or cultivating the ginger with these ornamental plants, would that be an incentive for them to keep them from even developing it into agricultural lands or maybe subdivisions or tourist spots maybe?
It is a bit tricky. It's a complicated question, but it's a little bit tricky because there isn't really sort of figures that you can tell a farmer you're going to earn this much versus what you earn if you farm the land. But we're not losing hope that might be a strategy and an approach into preserving these species. So we hope to, not too far from now, have a project that actually investigates that aspect of.
And you advocate for its conservation and even commercial.
Because one way of actually preserving them in the wild is so that you restrict the plantitos and plantitas from buying, like the poached specimen. So because right now they're not available in the market, which means that they're only really collected from the wild, and so you're reducing the natural populations. So what we hope is if you develop the industry, that there's the demand for it, you also provide the supply, not through the wildlings, but through propagated samples.
Gardens and all that.
Yeah, gardens. But at the moment, we don't have the capacity to do that, but hopefully, not too long from now.
So you did mention, Duke, that these are threatened and endangered. So what is the local government doing to conserve and preserve this? Local government or DNR? Why the look?
Well,
sorry, conservation's really just always like a hot button topic because it's very difficult. It's very difficult. There's always limited funds that's used as a reason, right, for the protection of the entire flora. If you can just imagine, the whole country should be protected, and you can just imagine there isn't enough resources for the DNR to go about and do that. But like Duke said, there's an effort, right? The Mount Bulusan area is a protected area. So it's declared by law, really, that there's got to be protection. But there's also the implementation of the law to make sure that there are no poachers.
These are observed.
Yeah, so there's lots of variables involved. And yeah, in our case, we can't really answer how do we protect them all. Our contribution is that Duke's, doing research on them, we're publicizing the information about these species, and with the hopes that people will know about them, will appreciate them, and hopefully value them for themselves, and then therefore protect them. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the hope.
Now I was wondering, because they're gingers, are all of them edible? I mean, all of these are beautiful flowers, but the rhizomes are all, used for medicine or food?
Not all of them are edible. The ones that are edible are the famous luya and the turmeric ginger, the luyang dilaw. But some
But you
species,
also have some fruits?
yes, some species or native species here in the Philippines has edible fruits like your Alpinia elegans or tagbak and the puso-pusuan because it looks like a heart and it has a sweet sour flavor. They're actually used as forest snacks by the locals.
I've never actually seen any of these or have tasted. Have you, Sandra?
No, not me either. No.
Have you tried it?
Yes.
Were they delicious?
Yes.
It's a bit new to your
Yes,
taste.
I have to.
Has anyone here ever tried these fruits? Did you know? Oh, but not one yet. Okay. Well, because when I speak of Bicol area, most likely the one you'd be familiar with are mga sili, no? Mga sili peppers, but not this one. All right. Now, so these are just, as you said, these are not yet like sold in the market or not popularly eaten. Okay. Now, tell me the other, how about the other pot? Can we show the next slide? How about the other ones? Okay. You mentioned about the medicinal, you have here the medicinal value of luyang dilaw and the luya itself. Is it true it's only good for namamalat ang iyong, how do you call this, your throat, may kabag? What are the other medicinal benefits from the luya?
Well,
ginger.
aside from this medicinal value, they are also used as, and you know the salabat? Yeah, it's used as voice enhancer. For turmeric, ginger, well, used for therapeutic purposes. And the problem. Well, these two species are, again, not native to the Philippines, so they are introduced. So one of our goals is to discover similar species here in the Philippines that can be utilized also, same with these two very important species.
You mean to say the luyang dilaw is not originally
Yeah.
Filipino?
No.
Oh, okay. Pati yung luya natin, the one that we use for cooking?
Yes, hindi po.
I know we've been importing a lot of these right now, but I didn't know that even our native luya are not even originally Pinoy. So where do they come from?
Well, most of them came from mainland Asia, especially turmeric ginger. But for Zingiberaceae officinale, it's very complicated to trace now the origin, especially that the genus Zingiber is widespread in Southeast Asia.
I know. And quite surprisingly, because when we know about ginger, di ba, pag merong mga namamaga, they put the indigenous knowledge tell you na, sige, pwede mo siyang itapal para it will subside, yung mga kabag, etc. No? And I think siguro during the pandemic, a lot of the Filipinos use the herbal medicine turmeric. They've been drinking salabat and ginger kasi the first signs of COVID was syempre, no, magkakaroon ka ng hoarse voice and it's affecting that. Well, good. But is there any attempt that you know of that here in the country we're even studying the gingers and perhaps developing it into medicines other than the ones I mentioned for drinking and all that?
When I explore different places in the Philippines, some of these native gingers are utilized by the locals, but they are not commercially sold. For example, in Palawan, I have this particular ginger, endemic only within that mountain, that they utilize for treatment for their cough. So,
pero walang iba kasi
well, that's the problem. So we need to document all the uses.
Oo. Kasi in Thailand, I stayed in Thailand for a while. In Thailand, they have this powdered turmeric, not just for salabat, but for other medicinal purposes. Did DOST ever do such researches? Because they have already approved lagundi and maybe tawa-tawa, but But for the other uses of ginger, making into other forms of medicine, what do you know
so
of?
there's still limited, I suppose, research into medicinal plants in the Philippines, although that has been getting better over the last decade. There's been more funding provided for the investigations towards medicinal properties of different species of Philippine plants. With gingers, they actually have quite a bit of potential, given that we already know of these non-native species having these medicinal properties. And what we hope to be able to contribute to that is introducing some of these new species that Duke's been discovering and on his research, introduce them to those other DOST-funded projects, perhaps, to investigate the properties that they might have. Hopefully, they might even be better properties than the luya and that we know of. We're crossing our fingers on that.
Duke, with your publication of A Guide to Gingers of Sorsogon, like, what do we aim to achieve with this publication? And other than the ones that Dr. Sandra mentioned, hopefully that the others are aware that we have more species, specifically in Sorsogon, but to the general public, of what relevance is the book?
Generally, the book caters all kinds of audience, but our target more is the general audience or the layman's, because we believe that if the general audience will start to appreciate our own native flora, to know also how biodiverse the Philippines is. So if they appreciate these species or plants, they will also start to protect them and maybe pass this what you call this to the next generation, this kind of appreciation to our flora. And lalo na nga po ngayon may mga plantitas at plantitos more appreciative of our plants.
Because your book is so colorful. So thank you, by the way, to the what's his name again? The
Ross.
The full name.
Ross Kopyak.
Yeah, he was the one who laid out and physically, did the visual design for the book. Beautiful. Congratulations, by the way. Yeah. So, as you mentioned, because it's so colorful, actually the flowers, I call them flowers, is that okay? Yeah. The flowers are so varied. And I found out that these are actually quite expensive in Dangwa. Like the one you purchased, kind of expensive.
Well, yung color yellow, it's 100 for 3 stalks.
And how long did you say can they survive before they
for the
completely
flower itself, 3 days, but the inflorescence may last for a week.
Oh, okay, that's good. If you cut the flowers, will that affect the growth of the rhizome?
Yes, because the rhizome is the main source of all growth of the plant. So if you cut the stem, as long as the rhizome is there, it will grow and grow.
Okay. But the rhizome of this particular one, hindi siya edible. This
yes,
golden one, not edible at all. All right. Now, finally, Dr. Sandra, let me ask you, what would be the next research initiatives of the herbarium? And what can biology students look forward to for the next explorations now that we're going back face to face?
Well, I kind of mentioned earlier, we actually have funded projects now, which we are, again, involving our biology students to take part in. We're doing a study of seaweeds, the diversity of seaweeds in Ilocos, Bohol, and Batanes. So for the students, I think they're going to Bohol for seaweeds. For plants, they're joining Duke and a bunch of other faculty to study the flora of Batanes. We also have a group who's I think going to somewhere in Baler maybe for fungi.
Wow. Yeah. So the bio students in the room right now are looking forward to that exploration, right? It's not just a trip for leisure, but it's more of really a research.
It is a lot of hard work when they're out in the field, and when they get back to the herbarium, there's a lot more work involved in the processing of those collections. And some of them will also be doing some molecular analysis, since we also have a molecular lab at the herbarium. Yeah.
So it's a very comprehensive, actually, exposure training for them, right?
Yes, but that's what we hope to achieve, including hopefully maybe get them as well to write those papers for publication.
With the help of you as a
With
research
the
fellow
help
and
of the-
Duke and
yeah,
all the other
of the
professors we
faculty.
have.
Yes, we have currently there's 5 of us faculty from the biology department who are working in the herbarium, all working on plants, fungi, and seaweeds, as I mentioned.
Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Sandra. And then, so lastly, Duke, would you invite the ones attending the forum right now, or the talk rather, and also the ones watching at home, invite them to buy your book.
Hello. Please buy my book. Well, may discount ata siya ngayon. It's how much? 20% off if you buy it today.
Plus you get her signature.
You can
along with
also
the
buy
other
them
students.
to Shopee and Lazada and to the TamTalks bookstore. And through TamTalks bookstore, it's 10% discount.
Okay, I think 20 for today, but we will get more announcements pertaining that. So pertaining to the discount. So thank you very much, Dr. Sandra and Duke, for joining TamTalks, the premiere episode. We will be back because we will have another set of guests or people to talk to in a while. Thank you once again. Welcome back to TamTalks rather. And now on the second set, we have here our university official, a vice president for academic development, Dr. Evangeline Bautista, and also from the publications office, Ms. Lance Caperal. But let's first ask Dr. Bautista, or we call her Dr. Banjo. Good morning, Dr. Banjo.
Good morning.
Hi, Dr. Banjo. As we had discussed earlier on the first set, the school is quite active in the research and publication. So, what under your new administration, what is the research agenda, or what do we wish to achieve for the faculty and students?
Well, the first thing we would like to do is to be able to look into reviving the Center for Urban Studies and Environment. And in that, we'd like to focus on maybe 2 or 3 major areas. We're thinking education is going to be one. Another one is going to be health. Maybe a third one will be environment. These are all tentative for now, but we hope to be able to finalize it within the semester. So that's one thing. And the other thing is we'd like to look into interdisciplinary research as well, because we would like to work with problems, real world problems, especially within the urban setting. And there is always that recognition that for these problems, you can never solve it using just one
field,
discipline.
One discipline, yeah.
So it would be great if the researchers will be able to work together, if they can even learn the rudimentary language of the different disciplines or disciplines other than their own, and combine into working with specific problems, tackling specific problems, solving them in a very interdisciplinary manner. So that's what we would like to be able to work on.
I'm very interested, actually, Dr. Banjo, because I'm working with Dr. 𝙂𝙪𝙤𝙧𝙨 Rivera, one of the other research fellow in communication. We're both members of the Philippine Academic Society for Climate and Disaster Resilience. And we do know for a fact, we do know for a fact that climate change is one of the biggest challenges we are facing right now. And to resolve that, I mean, we're not able to solve really climate change per se, but we can help develop or build resiliency in the communities, find out what people do not know, why they're behaving this way. And as you mentioned, it's not just the sciences, so we'll try to understand why the weather patterns are changing, what's its impact on the ecosystem. But the behavioral aspect is also important.
Resiliency is important.
Yes.
You're right. How people react is important. Communication is important. Disaster mitigation is important. And there are so many disciplines involved there. Definitely not just one.
Yes.
And that is very relevant in the urban setting as well. So you have all these things, and I believe that FEU have all the fields necessary to look into, let's say, maybe disaster mitigation. And I will not just be dealing with the sciences. We will also be working with the political scientists. We will also be working with the social scientists, the psychologists, and even make use of technology.
Technology and arts.
Yes, technology and arts. So that's one thing we could definitely get into. And that's what we're planning on. So we'd like to have larger projects, be able to fund larger projects in the URC so that more people can actually participate. It's a vision of mine to be able to develop a research culture within the university where the researchers are immersed in the reality. They know what the strengths are. They know where the areas for improvement are. But at the same time, it should be a very respectful culture wherein there are going to be people who would rather work on their particular fields, and that's okay. But it would be nice to have that core group of researchers working on high impact projects as well.
Well, the good thing about what we have, Dr. Banjo, is that we have a couple of research fellows, right, from different fields.
Yes, we do.
So, like for instance, we had Dr. Sandra Yap for biology, and I guess who else is in? Well, I think we're going to get another one for biology.
I know we just got a new one in modeling.
Oh, okay.
And all that.
And then we have Dr. Flor for math, and then Cha, I forgot the last name of Richard.
Yes.
Yeah, Cha for math as well. And then for communications, we have Dr. mayeta Rivera. And recently we have Dr. Gwen Pusta.
Yeah.
And
we have
Rose
Watengo.
Rose Watengo for education.
Who was actually recently able to get her own DOST
for project. Wow, great. And then that's good because, like as I mentioned, in the university you have senior faculty members and you have new faculty members who probably would benefit from mentorship. And as you mentioned, it's going to be a collaborative research work, and that's a good plan.
Yeah, that's the nice about the collaborative thing. Hindi ka matatakot na sumali.
And you will learn.
And you will learn.
Learn from the seniors. Definitely. Okay, that's great, Dr. Banjo. Now I'm going back to you. Moving to you, Miss Lance. Yeah, so the publications, no? So from the research outputs of the teachers, yun ba, are all of them turned into books? Or what has been the focus of the publication office?
Actually, no. This is the first collab with something that's internal or within the university. But before that, hi, good morning, everyone. Special to those who are with us in the huddle and those who are joining us via Zoom and Facebook. So to answer your question, the FEU Publications is the publishing arm of our Eastern University. So that said, we support the university's academic thrust by publishing books and print materials. And our publishing direction is for us to produce not just like FEU-centered books, but for us to be able to target and cater to a wider market and not just the FEU community. And in 2019, we were able to do that. Actually, we had a back-to-back book launch of Walk Manila, which is a guidebook by Lorelei de Viana. And we also have the Mindanao Harvest book, which is a literary anthology. But of course, we promote our own books, and we already published Silanganan, the FEU art collection by Sid Reyes, and recently we celebrated the 94th year of FEU by launching our history book, Braving the Odds. So there are, well, for even the pandemic, we were able to launch Ambahan. It's Quintin Pastrana's poetry book. If you don't know what Ambahan is, it's the traditional form of poetry by the Hanunumo of Mangyan in Mindoro. So you have the English poems translated in Filipino by Danton Remoto, and we have the interesting Mangyan scripts in the book. So all of them are in the book, the Ambahan. And then, yes, after post-pandemic, we are happy to feature FEU Herbarium's guide to the ginger books of Sorsogon. And interestingly, you have the beautiful images.
Yeah,
So there.
indeed. They're eye-catching. Now tell them where they can get hold of the book.
Okay, all of our books, and not just the ginger, are available at the TAMS bookstore, at the alumni online store, and of course, they're also available on Shopee and Lazada. So you can buy them or grab your copies there.
And you said you have some special announcements for us?
Yes, because it's a special day today. The TAMS bookstore is giving away the book at 20% discount. So grab your copies on site and you'll be able to avail the book at 20%. And incidentally, we'll also be serving later ginger cookies and I think ginger tea or cold ginger drink.
Wow. So you have a taste na hindi lang pang tinolang manok, but you love your ginger cookies. All right, that's great. Yeah, that's with the help of ITHM, correct? And the book FEU bookstore. Now, by the way, if you buy a book right now, the author is here. You can have his autograph, and so with the other students who joined him in the journey and the research. So that's a good opportunity for you to have a personal autograph of the researcher or authors. Now, Dr. Banjo, so as a closing for TamTalks, for the premiere episode of TamTalks, I would like for you to address both the FEU community and as well as our friends who are watching on Facebook.
Okay, I'd like to start with Duke. Congratulations on your book. Definitely a great accomplishment. Also, Sandra, you have not shown me your herbarium yet. Okay, but I'll visit it one of these days. And I would like to tell the FEU community that we have the University Research Council. That council was able to help Sandra set up the herbarium. We are able to help you make your dreams come true. If you want your research turned into a book, if you want it to become a paper, please feel free to contact us and we will see what we can do. I'm hoping that together we can all work and lift up FEU's research further. Know that research is not just all about publications. I am hoping we eventually can come up with patents. We can come up with something that we can actually use and sell. We can do entrepreneurship. We can do technopreneurship. And it's not going to be an easy process, but we would like to be able to develop organically, slowly but surely, and make all these changes happen. And hopefully in 5 years, we will have a community which is much made richer by research.
We're looking forward to those researchers' initiatives and not just publications, but really perhaps applied research talaga, no? Yep. So we will make our presence more felt in the community. Yes, not only in our partner communities, but it could be of bigger relevance.
Definitely.
All right. So thank you very much, Dr. Banjo and Miss Lance, for joining the second set of TamTalks. But before I end, I'd like to thank a couple of departments or offices who have been very instrumental in the production of these TamTalks. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge, of course, my team with the digital content creation and development. We have RJ, Micah, Camille, Mickey, Bonnie is also joining us, and then Pat and